Emma's phone buzzed for the third time in 10 minutes. She ignored it, her hands working frantically to reattach a crystal centerpiece that had somehow detached from its base. The Whitmore wedding was in 20 minutes, and everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Emma! The assistant coordinator burst through the garden doors, her face sheet white. The bride locked herself in the bridal suite. She won't come out. Emma's stomach dropped. She abandoned the centerpiece and ran toward the manor, her heels clicking against the stone pathway. 200 guests, a six-figure budget, and a bride having a meltdown. She reached the bridal suite and knocked gently. "Miss Whitmore, it's Emma Clarke, your coordinator. Can we talk?" Silence. "Sarah, honey, wedding jitters are completely normal. Everyone feels this way." "I don't love him." The voice from inside was raw with tears. "I can't do this. I can't marry someone I don't love." Emma closed her eyes. This was above her pay grade, but she had to try. "Then don't. But maybe we should talk face to face?" More silence, then the sound of a window opening. Emma's eyes flew wide. She ran to the exterior of the building just in time to see Sarah Whitmore, still in her robe, climbing down a trellis. The bride hit the ground, looked at Emma once, and ran toward the parking lot. "Sarah, wait!" But she was gone, disappeared into a waiting car that screeched out of the driveway. Emma stood frozen, her mind racing. The guests were arriving. The groom was probably getting ready for photos, and the bride had literally fled the building. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down at the screen. Final notice, eviction proceedings. 3 days to pay or vacate. Perfect, just perfect. "Excuse me." A deep voice behind her made Emma spin around. "Are you the bride?" Emma turned to face a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a Forbes cover shoot. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass, and his gray eyes assessed her with an intensity that made her want to squirm. "What? No. I'm the wedding coordinator. You're wearing white." He gestured to her dress. Emma looked down. In the chaos of setup, she'd forgotten she'd changed into the elegant cream dress she'd planned to wear for managing the reception. It was simple, but sophisticated. Nothing like an actual wedding gown, but she could see how someone might make the mistake. "This isn't a wedding dress. And who are you?" "Alexander Hunt. I'm here for the Whitmore wedding." He glanced at his watch, a Patek Philippe that probably cost 6 figures, which should be starting in 15 minutes. "Well, Mr. Hunt, there's been a slight complication." The bride ran away. It wasn't a question. Emma blinked. "You saw?" "I saw a woman in a robe climbing out a window. Context clues." His expression didn't change, as if runaway brides were a normal Tuesday occurrence. "This creates a problem." "You think?" Emma couldn't help the sarcasm. Her life was falling apart, and this billionaire was worried about his afternoon plans. Alexander studied her for a long moment. "You need money." Emma's defenses shot up. "Excuse me. Your phone. I saw the screen. Eviction notice." He said it matter-of-factly, without pity or judgment. "How much do you owe?" "That's none of your business." 200,000? 300? Emma's throat tightened. "Why would you possibly care?" "Because I need a wife and you need money. I'm proposing a business arrangement." For a moment, Emma thought she'd misheard him. "I'm sorry, what?" Alexander gestured toward the garden, where confused guests were starting to mill about. "Let's discuss this somewhere private." Against every instinct screaming at her to walk away, Emma followed him to a secluded corner of the estate gardens. Her curiosity had always been her weakness. "My grandfather is dying," Alexander said without preamble. "Pancreatic cancer? He has maybe 6 months. His dying wish is to see me married and settled before he passes. If I'm not married within the next month, control of Hunt Industries passes to the board instead of to me." "That's archaic. That's my grandfather. He believes marriage makes men responsible." Alexander's jaw tightened. "I've built that company from a $50 million inheritance into a $10 billion empire. I'm not losing it because of outdated notions about matrimony. So, marry someone. You're rich and not unfortunate looking. Surely there's a line of willing candidates." Something flickered in his eyes. "Amusement, maybe. I was engaged. She leaked confidential information to our competitors and sold the story to tabloids. I don't trust easily and I don't have time for dating. And you trust me? You just met me. I trust contracts." He pulled out his phone, typed something, and showed her the screen. "This is what I'm offering. I pay off all your debts immediately. You receive a salary of $50,000 per month for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, when my grandfather has passed and the company transition is secure, we divorce amicably. You walk away with your debts cleared and $300,000. Emma stared at the number on the screen. It was more money than she'd see in 5 years, maybe 10. Plus an additional $200,000 as a bonus when we divorce, Alexander continued. $500,000 total, 6 months of your life. This is insane. This is business. This is fraud. This is a mutually beneficial arrangement between two consenting adults. He pocketed his phone. You get financial security. I get my company. No one gets hurt. Emma's mind raced. She thought of the eviction notice, the medical bills from her mother's final year that had buried her, the maxed out credit cards, the constant crushing weight of debt that made it hard to breathe. What would I have to do? Attend family dinners, appear at company events, play the role of devoted wife in public. In private, we maintain separate lives, separate bedrooms, no actual relationship. For 6 months. For 6 months. Emma looked at this stranger, this billionaire with cold eyes and colder propositions. Every rational part of her brain screamed no. This was crazy. This was wrong. But the eviction notice was real. The debt was real. And the desperation clawing at her chest was very, very real. I want it in writing, she heard herself say. A legally binding contract, with protections for both of us. Alexander's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. My lawyer will have it ready by tomorrow morning. And if I say no after reading it, then you say no. But Emma, he stepped closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne and something darker, more dangerous. I don't think you will. He was right. She hated that he was right. One more thing, Emma said, lifting her chin. If we do this, you treat me with respect. I'm not some employee you can order around. In public, you treat me like someone you actually care about. Agreed. He extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Emma looked at his hand, at the manicured nails and expensive watch, at the symbol of everything she wasn't. Then she thought of her empty bank account, and the landlord's threats, and the life she'd been barely surviving. She shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and sent an unexpected jolt up her arm. We have a deal. 24 hours later, Emma sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than her monthly rent, staring at a 40-page contract. Alexander's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia, sat across from her with the patience of someone paid very well to wait. Take your time, Patricia said. This is legally binding. You should understand every clause. Emma had read it twice already. Separate bedrooms, no romantic involvement, public appearances as needed. Financial compensation detailed down to the dollar. A non-disclosure agreement that would bankrupt her if she ever spoke about the arrangement. And an exit clause at 6 months, clean and simple. What happens if one of us wants out early? Emma asked. There's a penalty structure, pages 22 through 24. Patricia flipped to the section. Essentially, if either party terminates without cause before 6 months, the financial agreement is voided. You'd still keep anything already paid toward your debts, but no additional compensation. And if there's cause? Infidelity, public scandal, breach of NDA. Then the wronged party receives additional compensation and the contract terminates immediately. Emma's pen hovered over the signature line. This was her last chance to walk away, to go back to her cramped apartment and figure something else out, to maintain her dignity and independence. Her phone buzzed. Another creditor. She silenced it. She signed. Patricia witnessed the signature, then stood and shook Emma's hand. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Hunt. Alexander will collect you at 6 tonight. You're expected at his grandfather's estate for dinner. Tonight? I haven't even moved my things. A team is handling that now. They'll have you settled in the penthouse by 4. Emma's head spun. What team? I didn't give anyone access to my apartment. Patricia smiled. You gave Mr. Hunt your address for the debt payments. He took initiative. Everything will be carefully packed and moved. Nothing will be lost or damaged. The efficiency was terrifying. Emma had signed the contract 3 minutes ago, and her entire life was already being relocated. I need to go, Emma said, grabbing her purse. I need to see what they're doing. Mr. Hunt anticipated that. His driver's waiting downstairs to take you home. Of course he was. The penthouse was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The living room was bigger than her entire apartment, and there were 4 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. The team had already arranged her meager belongings in the smallest bedroom, her clothes looking pathetic in the massive walk-in closet. Alexander appeared at 6 sharp, wearing a different suit but the same unreadable expression. Ready? He asked. I don't know what I'm ready for, Emma admitted. What do I call your grandfather? What do I say? What's our story? We met at a charity gala 3 months ago. Fell in love quickly. Decided not to wait. He adjusted his cufflinks without looking at her. Keep it simple. He's traditional, but not stupid. Be yourself. Just omit the contract part. Be myself. The broke event planner pretending to be a billionaire's wife. Alexander finally looked at her. Really looked at her. You're not pretending to be anything. You are my wife. Legally. The circumstances are unconventional, but the marriage license is real. We filed it this afternoon. Emma's breath caught. We're already married? Legally, yes. The ceremony was a formality we skipped given the timeline. My grandfather doesn't care about the party, just the commitment. He checked his watch. We need to go. He doesn't like people being late. The drive to the estate took 40 minutes. Alexander spent it on his phone, typing emails and ignoring her completely. Emma stared out the window and wondered what she'd done. Theodore Hunt was not what Emma expected. She'd imagined someone cold and intimidating, like his grandson. Instead, a frail man with kind eyes and a warm smile greeted them at the door, leaning heavily on a cane. So, you're the miracle who finally tamed my Alexander, Theodore said, taking Emma's hand in both of his. His grip was weak, but genuine. I don't know about taming, Emma said. He's pretty stubborn. Theodore laughed, a wheezing sound that turned into a cough. Alexander moved closer, concerned, but the old man waved him off. I like her already. She's honest. He gestured them inside. Come, dinner's ready. I want to hear everything about how you two met. Dinner was simultaneously the easiest and hardest thing Emma had ever done. Theodore asked gentle questions, and Emma found herself lying smoothly, surprised by how naturally the fabricated story flowed. Alexander barely spoke, but his hand occasionally found hers under the table, a reminder of the performance. You love him, Theodore said suddenly, his eyes sharp on Emma. I can see it. Emma's throat went dry. I do, she lied, the words tasting like ash. And you, Alexander? Do you love this woman? For the first time that evening, Alexander looked uncomfortable. He glanced at Emma, something unreadable, flickering across his face. Yes, he said quietly. I do. The lie sat heavy between them on the drive home. Neither spoke until they reached the penthouse. You did well tonight, Alexander said as they entered. My grandfather believed you. I'm an excellent liar, apparently. Emma kicked off her heels, her feet aching. This is going to be harder than I thought. It's just 6 months. 6 months of lying to a dying man who seems genuinely kind. He's happy. That's what matters. Alexander loosened his tie. Your bedroom is the second on the left. Mine is the master suite. Stay out of it. Trust me, I have no interest in your personal space. Good. We maintain boundaries. This works only if we remember what this is. A business arrangement. You've made that very clear. Emma started toward her room, then stopped. Does anyone know about the contract? Patricia, my head of security, that's it. He poured himself a drink from the bar. And it stays that way. If anyone finds out, the scandal would be worse than not being married at all. So I'm your dirty little secret. You're my legally wedded wife who happens to have a financial incentive to be here. There's a difference. Emma laughed bitterly. Right. Well, good night, husband. She didn't wait for his response. The first week was awkward. They barely saw each other. Alexander left before dawn and returned after dark. Emma explored the penthouse, feeling like an intruder in a museum. She tried to work on her event planning business, but her clients had dried up during her financial crisis. The second week, Alexander's assistant delivered a schedule. 3 events that week where Emma's presence was required. A charity gala, a board dinner, and Sunday brunch with Theodore. The gala was Emma's first real test. Alexander introduced her to dozens of people whose names she immediately forgot. Everyone wanted to know about the mysterious woman who'd caught Alexander Hunt's heart. You look stunning, a woman in diamonds purred, but her eyes were calculating. Alexander never mentioned he was seeing anyone. It happened quickly, Emma said, repeating the script. I'm Victoria Ashford, Alexander's former fiancée. The woman's smile was all teeth. I'm sure he's mentioned me. Emma's stomach tightened. This was the woman who'd betrayed him, the reason Alexander couldn't trust anyone. He mentioned you leaked company secrets to competitors, Emma said sweetly, and sold stories to tabloids. Must be difficult living with that reputation. Victoria's smile froze. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into, darling. Alexander doesn't love. He acquires, and when he's done with you, you'll understand exactly what I mean. She walked away, leaving Emma shaken. Alexander appeared at her elbow moments later, 2 champagne flutes in hand. I saw you talking to Victoria. She's lovely, Emma said dryly. She's venomous. Stay away from her. He handed her a glass. You look pale. Are you all right? I'm fine. Just tired of pretending. His jaw tightened. Then pretend better. People are watching. He walked away, leaving Emma alone in a room full of strangers, wondering how she'd survive 6 months of this. That night, she found him on the penthouse balcony at 2 a.m, staring at the city lights. Can't sleep? She asked. He didn't turn. Insomnia. I've had it for years. Emma leaned against the railing beside him. Your grandfather asked me today if we're happy. What did you tell him? I told him we are. Another lie to add to the collection. She paused. He really loves you, you know. I know. Then why does this feel so wrong? Alexander finally looked at her. In the moonlight, his features softened slightly. Because it is wrong. But it's necessary. Is it? Or are you just afraid of actually letting someone in? You don't know me well enough to make that assessment. I know you've built walls so high, even you can't climb over them. Emma surprised herself with her boldness. I know you'd rather buy a wife than risk your heart. And I know you'd rather sell yourself than ask for help. His words cut deep. We're both doing what we have to survive, Emma. Don't pretend you're better than this arrangement. She flinched. He was right, and she hated him for it. Good night, Alexander. Good night. But as she walked away, she heard him whisper something that sounded like an apology. The third week changed everything. Theodore collapsed during Sunday brunch, and Emma rode with Alexander in the ambulance, holding the old man's hand while Alexander made frantic phone calls. At the hospital, Theodore squeezed her fingers weakly. Take care of him, he whispered. He pretends he doesn't need anyone, but he does. He needs you. Emma's eyes burned with tears. I will. I promise. Theodore smiled and closed his eyes. Alexander stood at the window, his back rigid, hands clenched at his sides. When the doctor said Theodore was stable but declining faster than expected, Alexander didn't react. He simply nodded and walked out. Emma found him in the hospital chapel, sitting alone in the last pew. Alexander, she said softly, he's all I have left. His voice was raw. My parents died when I was 12. Car accident. Theodore raised me, taught me everything, and I can't even give him the one thing he wants. Emma sat beside him. What's that? A real marriage, real love, real grandchildren someday. He laughed bitterly. Instead, I'm giving him an elaborate lie. Without thinking, Emma took his hand. He's happy. That's not a lie. He sees you settled. Sees you with someone who cares about you. But you don't. Care about me. He looked at their joined hands. This is a transaction. Maybe it started that way. Emma's heart pounded. But your grandfather is a good man, and you're not as terrible as you pretend to be. Emma, you paid off my debts before the contract was finalized. Your assistant told me. You did it the same day I signed, even though you could have waited, could have backed out. Alexander pulled his hand away. That was just good business practice. No, it wasn't. It was kindness. Emma stood. I'll give you space. But Alexander? You're allowed to feel things, even grief, even fear. She left him there, and when he came home at 3 a.m, she heard him pause outside her bedroom door before continuing to his own room. The next morning, everything shifted. Alexander emerged from his room earlier than usual, looking exhausted. Come with me today, he said abruptly. Where? Work. I want you to see what I'm actually fighting for. Hunt Industries occupied 3 floors of a downtown skyscraper. Emma watched Alexander transform from the cold, distant man she lived with into a focused leader who actually cared about his employees. He knew names, asked about families, listened to concerns. You're different here, Emma observed during lunch in his office. This is what matters. These people depend on me. 2,000 employees, their families, their futures. He gestured to the city below. My grandfather started this company with nothing. I won't let the bored vultures tear it apart for profit margins. They'd really do that? They'd liquidate and sell within a year, maximize shareholder value, destroy everything my grandfather built. His hands clenched. I can't let that happen. Emma saw him clearly then. Not a cold billionaire, but a man carrying impossible weight. You'll win, she said. You're too stubborn not to. He almost smiled. Is that a compliment? Don't let it go to your head. Something changed between them that day. The walls didn't disappear, but cracks formed. They started having breakfast together, small conversations about nothing important. Emma learned he took his coffee black and hated mushrooms. Alexander discovered she sang off-key in the shower and reorganized his bookshelves by color, which annoyed him, but he didn't change back. Week 4 brought their biggest test. A business rival named Marcus Chen threatened to expose their marriage as fraudulent unless Alexander gave him insider information on a pending merger. How did he find out? Emma asked, pacing the penthouse. Someone talked. Maybe Victoria, maybe someone else. Alexander's calm was terrifying. It doesn't matter. I won't give him what he wants. But if he exposes us, then we deal with it. He caught her hands, stopping her pacing. Emma, I won't let him hurt you. Whatever happens, you're protected. The money is yours. The debts are paid. You walk away clean. What about you? The company? I'll fight. It's what I do. His thumbs brushed her wrists absently. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Emma looked into his gray eyes and realized with terrifying clarity that somewhere in the past month she'd stopped pretending. The feelings were real. The care was real. I trust you, she whispered. Alexander leaned closer, and for one breathtaking moment Emma thought he might kiss her. Instead, he released her hands and stepped back. I need to make some calls. Emma retreated to her room, heart pounding. She'd fallen for him. Actually fallen for the cold, stubborn, impossible man she'd agreed to fake marry. She was so screwed. The next morning, she overheard Alexander on the phone in his office. The arrangement is working perfectly, he said. She's fulfilled her part of the contract exactly as agreed. Professional, believable, no complications. Emma's heart cracked. Of course, this was still just business to him. She didn't hear the rest, and I can't let her go. God help me, I've fallen in love with my fake wife. That afternoon, Emma confronted him. I heard you this morning, on the phone. Alexander's expression shuddered. What exactly did you hear? That I'm fulfilling my contract. That this is all professional. No complications. She fought tears. You're right. This is business. I forgot that. My mistake. Emma, the 6 months is almost up. Theodore is stable for now. You'll have the company secured soon. We should start planning the divorce. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. This was never about what I want. She pulled off the wedding ring he'd given her for appearances. Consider our business concluded early. I'll move out tomorrow. You're breaking the contract. Sue me. Oh wait, I have no money. You paid off my debts, remember? She set the ring on his desk. Goodbye, Alexander. She was packing when Theodore called. Alexander's grandfather had been rushed back to the hospital. Heart failure. The final decline. Emma ran. She found Alexander in Theodore's room, holding his grandfather's hand, looking more broken than she'd ever seen him. Emma. Theodore's voice was barely a whisper. You came. Of course I came. She took his other hand, tears streaming. Promise me, Theodore breathed. Promise you'll take care of each other. Choose love. Choose each other. We promise, Emma said, looking at Alexander. Alexander's eyes met hers across Theodore's bed, and everything he'd been holding back blazed in that look. Theodore smiled and closed his eyes. The monitors flatlined. 3 weeks passed in a blur of funeral arrangements and lawyer meetings. Emma stayed in a hotel. Alexander buried himself in work. They didn't speak. Then Emma got a call about coordinating a small garden wedding. She almost declined, but the couple's love story touched her. They'd met during a crisis, fallen in love, despite impossible odds. It reminded her of something that could have been real. The wedding day was perfect. Emma watched the couple exchange vows, their love so obvious it hurt. As the ceremony ended and guests applauded, Emma turned to find Alexander standing at the back of the garden. He walked toward her slowly, deliberately. Every eye turned to watch. I need to tell you something, he said, loudly enough for guests to hear. No contracts, no conditions, just truth. Emma's heart hammered. Alexander, what are you doing? I was terrified of loving you because everyone I've ever loved has left. My parents died. My fiancé betrayed me. I built walls because walls can't abandon you. He took her hands. But losing you hurt worse than any wall could protect me from. You're the bravest, kindest, most infuriating person I've ever met. And I love you. Not because of a contract. Not for 6 months. Just love you. He pulled out a ring, different from the one she'd returned. This isn't about my grandfather, or the company, or anything except you and me. Will you give me a real chance? Will you marry me again? For real, this time? Emma's tears fell freely. You hurt me. I know. And I'll spend every day proving I've changed. No more walls. No more hiding. His voice cracked. "Please, Emma, choose me. Choose us." Emma looked at this impossible man who'd bought her and then somehow stolen her heart. "This is absolutely insane," she whispered. Then she smiled. "But yes, Alexander, I choose you." He kissed her as the wedding guests erupted in applause, and Emma realized sometimes the best love stories start with a contract and end with a choice. 6 months later, they had a real wedding with real vows and real forever promises. Emma's event planning business thrived with Alexander's support. He learned to smile more, to trust more, to love without fear. And every night, they sat on the penthouse balcony together, no longer separated by walls or contracts or lies, just two people who'd found love in the most unexpected place. Sometimes the best things in life aren't planned. Sometimes they're accidentally perfect. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more billionaire romance tales, hit that like button, and comment below with which story you'd like to hear next. Until next time, keep believing in unexpected love.